YouTube family, welcome to the Wholesale to Million community. So today I got one of my students, Brandon, on here to share with you guys his first wholesale deal for $37,000. And I also have one of my partner, Alex, to jump on. Alex, the one who helped me run the whole entire academy. And he's the one who worked closely with Brandon regarding this $37,000 wholesale deal. I'm going to have Brandon kind of break down with you guys, you know, how he got the deals, how he found the sellers, how he negotiates, how he got on the contract, how he found the buyer, the entire process. But I think in this interview, dude, I am going to hand it over to Alex because Alex is the one who's been working.
Uh-oh. I was gonna.
Alex, for those of you who don't know who, hold on a second. Hold on. You guys good? For those of you who don't know who Alex is, I'm going to leave the link below. All right. So you guys can check out the kind of the podcast that Alex and I did when Alex closed on one of his biggest wholesale deal, and not just wholesale, but he turned that into actually one of his buy and hold, which is his rental. So the guy, Alex, I guess I'll just let you take over, man.
Well, thanks for having me on. Thanks for allowing me in here with your deal analysis, Brandon. I know you've been through a journey trying to get this deal done, multiple other deals. And so I'm going to actually let you take over and kind of explain what you had to go through. So I know I explained kind of what Khang and I went through, but just to reiterate to other people who might be listening, first off, tell us your story, who you are, and then tell us a little bit about your experience going up until closing that first deal.
Yeah, so my name is Brandon Glasgow. I'm 23 years old. I come from serving tables. I did life insurance a little bit, for a little bit, not too long, but I was in the industry a little bit. So I kind of have, the natural speaking ability and kind of like a little bit of sales background. So it kind of translated into this a little bit. I joined the academy in late November. It took the first month or so just kind of going through the modules, really learning the information, kind of sharpening my tools a little bit before actually getting on the phones so I was kind of prepared, and then just basically just kind of using all the information in the modules to, close some deals. I ended up getting prop stream. So, we pull lists from prop stream and call on that, go driving for dollars around the neighborhood, kind of, gathering a bunch of properties. I've actually had 2 sellers that I've worked with in the past here recently. They've given me leads on vacant houses that they knew of just from building good rapport with them. So just kind of doing, whatever it takes, man, to, kind of get some leads and then, ultimately hopping on the phones, running them through the script and, trying to get it done.
Nice. Yeah. So you talked about having a couple other sellers helping you out and sending you deals, but what about those sellers that, you were under contract with? Because this wasn't the first deal you had, right?
Yep. So I had another deal that was, 2 or 3 days before closing. They ended up just backing out, nothing being said, just got sent a lawyer card, saying, everything must be, talked through them. No warning, no nothing, just right before closing, everything was set up, good to go. I had another one that, I actually just closed this one. I think it was actually, I closed it yesterday. We just finally got the check. We had been working on it for 2 months, but we had to, get a septic fixed. We had to come out of pocket and, fix a septic before actually closing on the property to transfer title. There definitely been, a lot of hoops to jump through and everything, but, just consistency, always really pays off and, makes everything kind of worth it.
Awesome. Yeah. So just for those listening, Brandon had several other deals under contract that he put hard work into, did everything right, did everything he could do, but ultimately sometimes it's just things outside of our control, right? And so that can kill our spirit if we're not strong enough to handle it. But Brandon, and I had this feeling from the get-go, from the questions he was asking and from the action he was taking, that he had what it takes. And sure enough, same thing with this deal. It was no easy run of the mill, and I'm sure he'll explain that to you. But go ahead and Khang, did you want to say anything?
No, man, dude, I just want to say congrats for just sticking with it, man, and not giving up. Because I think when we all started from the bottom, we all know how it feels. I mean, I'm pretty sure Alex knows how it feels when, you know, his first deals or two falls apart. Most people probably give up after that, you know, but dude, you pick yourself back up again and you just keep going. So I just say, hey, congrats for just sticking with it. And that's why you're getting the results that you got today, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You know, I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it without your guys's. So you know, I appreciate that as well.
Without Alex, for sure.
Alex has definitely been a big help along the way. I definitely appreciate him.
Dude, Alex, man, I just want to touch base on that. So typically, Brandon, I don't do business like, I just don't like partners. I just don't like partner with people just because, you know, when you get into partnership with people, be like, hey, does the people have the same moral as I do? The same work ethic as I do, right? Like, do they, like, is there similarities? And it's really hard. Most partnerships just don't work out. And I'd rather keep friends as friends and partners as partners, right? Or business as business. But I gotta say, dude, Alex is one of the rare one, dude, that I found that I was like, dude, I can fully trust this cat. And then now we're running this academy. We're changing one life at a time, man. Because I would have never been able to do this, dude, without Alex. So, Alex, I want to say thank you so much, man, for jumping on and partnering with me on doing this, man, and just changing one life at a time.
Well, I appreciate those kind words from both of you. Brandon, as 100% you, we just gave you the tools. You took the tools and did what you needed to do to get the deal done. And Khang, as always, you know, you reached in, pulled me out. And so my goal was to do the same thing. And you allowed me to do that by doing this. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I love this.
So, all right. Well, Brandon, why don't you break down the deal, details, where you got it, how it went with the seller before you went under contract, and then everything up until closing. So why don't you run us through that?
Okay. Yeah. So this is actually a house that I ended up getting off of PropStream. It was either a vacant or a foreclosure. I can't remember exactly which one I'd pulled, but I called the seller. You know, I wasn't able to get a hold of him. Ended up having to, you know, do some digging and reach out to the son. Was able to get a hold of the son. Had to, you know, talk to him for a few minutes, try and, you know, get myself into a position where I'd build enough rapport with him to even mention it to his mother, whose house it was and who was on title, you know, saying, hey, I've got a guy that's interested. Or, you know, he ended up actually just giving me his phone number or her phone number to reach out directly. So I ended up, you know, giving her a call, kind of breaking down everything. You know, they were actually under the impression that, you know, they weren't able to do anything with the house because it was a very complicated situation with husband and wife, and then, you know, a previous or a newer wife with title, and they were trying to get, you know, probate done. So, you know, they weren't even sure if they, you know, if the house could even be sold. So, you know, I had to sit here, and I think I did like 2 days of calling around and digging through the county and websites, you know, just seeing, you know, what was up with this house, when the sheriff's sale was, you know, what the timeline and what everything even kind of looked like. So, you know, once I kind of, you know, deciphered everything and, you know, figured out that, hey, this house can be sold. You know, we were racing against the clock because the foreclosure was coming up. So, you know, we got everything turned in, got it turned in the title, you know, got in, got out, you know, figured everything out. The sellers were actually once everything was kind of in motion and in paper, you know, they were really easy to work with, you know, kind of made it a little easier on our end. But there was just, you know, paperwork and legalities that we had to figure out. And then, you know, right before we were supposed to be closing again, the county had kind of made it to where the sheriff's sale, because the bank was in and out of the house, like kind of doing work. So, you know, they didn't want the house to get sold. So we had to, you know, negotiate getting the sheriff's sale extended. So it was, yeah, just a lot of hoops to, you know, to ultimately kind of jump through. And, but, you know, it definitely ended up being worth it. And, you know, I'm glad we were able to get it done.
Awesome. Yeah. So what's cool about that story is it's not your conventional wholesale, right? So there was a lot of hurdles you had to overcome, like extending the sheriff's sale and negotiating that while dealing with the bank in and out of the property. So for those that are listening, it's important to understand that these will come up. These things do come up, and it's important to understand how to overcome them so you can have those skills for the next time. Because guess what? Next time you get a deal like this, you're going to know what to do, you know, from square one.
Definitely.
So, no trying to figure it out, which I think is awesome. So let's talk about a little bit the numbers. What was the numbers like on this deal?
So yeah, we had looked at the house, and the ARV on it was it was pretty good. I had pretty much had the ARV at 300 to 320,000. Nice house, nice city, and it was just the house was just kind of a disaster. It had been sitting vacant for a few years. There was foundation problems, mold in the house, some big factors. So I remember, we were sitting there. We had met the son at the property, and actually gone and looked at it before locking up a price. Um, and I remember, sitting there and running the numbers, and kind of seeing where we needed to be, to get the deal done. And I don't remember what it was, but something had gotten said, and I just decided, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna come in really low on this property and just see if it gets accepted. And I remember, rolling the dice and, coming in really low. And, I feel like I presented everything in a, good enough way to where, it made sense to them. And it wasn't like I was, kind of taking it. It was, they were happy with everything. We were happy with everything. And I came in at the price that I came in, and which was 75,000. Came in at 75,000. It got accepted, and I I had it under contract with a buyer in 8 days, 9 days for 120.
Damn.
Yeah, for 122. So
Damn. Okay, now I'm sorry, Brent. I know that Alex probably have some questions, dude. But I want to know from you, Brandon. What's the asking price?
the asking price on the house,
Yeah, well, yeah. Like, so what did the seller ask?
100.
Okay. Dang. So the seller asked for 100,000. You offer them 75K.
Yep.
First offer got accepted.
Yeah.
Like a boss. That's
I-
dude. That's $25 discount or 25K discount, bro.
That's right.
Alex, do you want to say anything?
Yeah. So now that we have the numbers, let's talk about kind of once you had the contract with the buyer, right? We had a couple things come up that
Yep.
we talked about. Whenever we're dealing with buyers, here's what we need to look out for. And this buyer was kind of giving us a hard time, or maybe we, was doing something. So I wanted you to explain a little bit about what you went through.
Yeah. So, this was actually a buyer that, I'm pretty new into everything. So I don't have like a, set in stone buyers list. So everyone I'm kind of, doing business with, I'm kind of meeting on the, first interaction. So I, showed the property to him. He was a really cool guy. We got along, we were joking, everything was really cool. And then, he was interested in the house, wanted to lock it up right then and there. I agreed to, the price and everything right there in the driveway. It was kind of I don't want to say my fault, but it was just kind of my error of, not asking and just kind of being green in the industry, maybe not vetting the buyer a little bit as much as maybe I should have. Just kind of asking how he was going to do everything. But he ended up using, a hard money lender, which I had never run into, seeing how it was my first deal, obviously. So he was using hard money, and, he was wanting, he needed to see the actual contract with no edits, like the purchase price and the separation and, things like that. And obviously, the size of the deal, I didn't want to take chances of blowing it.
Yeah.
So, we went back and forth kind of on the phone about, needing to see the information, why I didn't want to disclose it, making up something as far as what had happened in the past to try and justify. And, I ended up just, getting on the phone, sending Alex a message, talking to him, kind of asking, if he had run into anything like this, said that he had. It was always something that it's not really what we look for, because it kind of takes our power away, because he was, he's wanting the keys to the house because it was just sitting vacant before closing. And it was just kind of things where I was like, I just feel like I'm giving all my power away. And I remember calling on Alex, and he was like, yeah, sometimes you run into, buyers that have a certain way of doing things, and, hard money lenders, require this stuff. So, it's up to you. You're gonna have to take the gut feeling and, see if you think it'll be good, or completely step away. And, I had conversations with the guy, thought it was good, took Alex's advice, said he had done it. I said, well, if you've done it, I'll do it. So,
Yeah.
sent the contract, rolled the dice, everything was cool, and ended up going through. And now actually, the buyer, he actually wants me to try and get deals for him here and there, and he keeps messaging me asking if I've gotten anything new. So
Love it. Hey, Brandon, I got a question, dude. So you got you got under contract for 75,000.
Yep.
Okay. And for those of you, everybody on Instagram, dude, you got to hear this. So I'm going to break it down for those of you who run into like maybe similar situations. Like there's a couple ways to go about this, but let's just say, okay, you got under contract for 75,000, bro. You sent it out to the buyer for 122.
I sent it out at 140.
You sent it out for 140. Okay. And
I had
hold on.
30.
Hold on, bro. And so what was the ARV on the property?
300 to 320.
Damn. The ARV is 300,000. You got it under contract for 75K?
Yeah.
Shit, bro. See, bro, like most people don't understand until they actually like some people even watch this and think this is all makeup number. This is fake. If a property's worth 300K, why would someone sell for 75,000? You know, that's why a lot of times when people actually see it firsthand, they become like an extreme believer. But I'm telling you guys, like this happens all day long, right? Dude, 300K ARV under contract for 175. You sent it out to the buyer for what's the rehab on it, man?
We had it at like 90 to 100.
Okay, let's just say 100K for the rehab. This is a single family?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. You sent it out for 140. Okay. I don't know if you have mentioned, but how do you found the buyer, bro?
Actually, just from people I know. I've attended a few networking events.
Nice.
Yeah, like Facebook, just kind of things like that.
Okay. So you sent out for 140, and then the buyer came back and said, "Hey, I can only do for 122."
Yep. He said he could do 120.
Okay.
I'm trying to get 125 because actually the night before I had a guy say he could get me 130. He had to get it approved, and I asked him when he could go under contract, and he didn't respond quick enough. And then I showed the property, and that guy was willing to move like that. So
I love it, man.
Yep.
Yeah. So no, I'd rather take a 5K haircut or $7,000 haircut with a buyer that is serious, that is just ready to go, ready to close. You know, because my whole thing is, dude, you got to strike when the iron is hot. When people think about it, and then when you're trying to juggle 2 buyer or 3 buyer back and forth, sometimes, dude, you end up getting none.
Yeah.
So, dude, go with whatever one it is. You already make a good spread on it. Just pull the trigger, get it done, dude. Take that $7,000 haircut, move on to the next deal. Now, the next question to you, Brandon, and Alex, hey, if you have anything you want to say, Alex, just go ahead and jump in, man. I just want this to be like you know how just like if we were to all sit down at a table, we just talk, right? And I think that that's the best information that will ever come out when things just naturally asked. So, my whole dude, it's a $47,000 wholesale fee. Why did it end up to be 37K?
I completely forgot about that. So
yeah,
it was 47, and then literally the day of closing, I had to cough up $10,000 because remember how the bank was going in and out, and they were like doing like little repairs. They had hit the house for an extra $8,000 that day, or like 2 days before. They had hit it for an $8,000 for preservation, and so it changed all the numbers last minute. And the seller was guaranteed a certain amount. They wanted that amount, so then last minute day of closing, I had to credit it out of my assignment fee, and then it ended up being 37.5.
Got it.
Which still no complaints, but
dude, bro, I used to make $30,000 a year working at a JO the B.
Yep.
And you hear 37K in one deal, man. That's huge.
Yeah, definitely feels a little surreal. That's for sure.
For sure. Alex, you want to say anything?
I was just gonna say, I mean, there's nothing we could really do at that point. That, it was outside of our control. So, for those listening, those things can happen where at the end of it, it's taken out of that credit, like he was mentioning. Yep. But at the end of the day, that's why having these big spreads is super helpful, because if something like that, like another lien pops up or something like that, it's really good to negotiate them at a good price from the get-go. So,
love it. And then I also want all of you to understand this, okay? The 10K did not come out of like Brandon bank account. Like it didn't come out of Brandon bank account. So don't think, oh my God, 10,000, where am I going to get the 10K? They just subtract it from your assignment fee. All right. So this would have been a 47K and they subtract it. So Brandon ended up walking away with $37,000.
Yep.
Now, dude, so on this deal, because of the spread, you get on the phone with the buyer and you just kind of talk with the buyer and you felt like, hey, this guy's legit, he's confident. And so you just told him how much the assignment fee is?
Yeah, pretty much. I'd
Cool.
sent the original contract to his lender directly.
Yep.
And then he called me, and because we had already had like a decent rapport and like we were joking around, he's a guy, and he's like, man, you really just don't want me to see what you're making on this. And I was like, oh man, it's nothing personal. And then I was like, well, I know you'll end up finding out anyway. And I was like, well, it's 47. So.
Right. So for those of you who's watching this, typically when a cash buyer is using a hard money loan, they are going to require to see the original contract,
Yep.
which means they need to see everything, right? The purchase price, the sell price, your seller contact info is going to be on there as well. And this is why when you get on the phone with the buyer, you just want to make sure that, you get on the phone with them, trust them, qualify, and make sure everything is good. Also too, Brandon, you can also do, because the purchase price, bro. I mean, this is just for some future deals, right? I'm sure now that you work with this buyer, the next deal you'll be like, hey, I'm gonna make 50K, I'm gonna make 75K, I'm gonna make 100K. He probably don't care,
Yep.
right? Because he seemed like a cool buyer. But there will be buyer, dude, that once they know, they trying to negotiate with you and yada yada yada, right? They trying to penny pinch. That's what I call those buyers. Those buyers typically, dude, I don't like to work with them, but if they're the only one who comes to buy the deal, then what the heck, right? But I hate those kind of buyer, dude, because they always look at like, hey, what you guys are making. Dude, don't worry about it, man. Worry about what you're going to make. Because, if you're going to make 200K on this and I make 50K, I'm not coming to you and say, hey, you're going to make 200K on this, But the one thing you can do too in the future, Brandon, since the purchase price is so low, bro, you can do what's called a double closing. Okay. So which means on a 75,000, bro, I typically like to say, let's just say 3%. So 75K plus 3%, bro, you're going to come out of pocket with another extra, I don't know. Let me see here. 3%. You're going to come out with pocket $3,000. So when you do a double closing, then the buyer don't know how much you make. So which mean, but then you would have to, I don't know, because some now, and then Brandon, you also got to check with the title company. Some title company will be okay with using the end buyer's fund to fund the whole entire transaction. So you don't have to come out with, the $70-some thousand to close on it. So when you do a double closing, for those of you who don't know, you actually take title to the property for X amount of time. Typically, the double closing will happen the same day. Okay, so it's going to happen the same day, but you have to pay for the closing costs because that's what you promised the seller. So on a $75,000 purchase that you close with the seller, 3% is let's just say $3,000. That's nothing. But imagine if this was a $750,000 deal, right? So $750,000, on a 3% plus 3%, dude. That's a lot. That's what, $70-something thousand in just closing costs, right? So typically if the price is low, you just got to figure that there's going to be closing cost fees that you have to pay. And if the title company is cool with using the end buyer's fund to fund the whole entire transaction, bro, then obviously you don't have to come out of pocket with anything. And then at this point, you don't have to disclose to the buyer how much you make because you're actually going to buy the property and then you're going to sell it over to them. So they will never know how much you make.
Okay.
Just an FYI for future deals.
For sure, which we thought about, and then it was too late, and we had already gotten the agreement signed. And I was like, all right.
Right.
So I have something. How much was the seller netting?
I think 5K.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say typically if they had enough, you could negotiate that 8,000 back into your pocket, but they're only making 5K, so.
Yeah, we all kind of went into the deal a little blind. They didn't know what was owed on the house because it had been sitting vacant. They said they wanted 100 for it. And then I came in at 75. It got accepted. And then, we got the paperwork and then the payoff came back.
Nice. Hey, Brandon, are you still, are you doing this on the side still part-time or are you going full-time on it and you quit the kind of where you're at, bro?
So yeah, I was kind of doing it part-time, just
Yeah.
kind of getting, the results that I was wanting. I just knew it was going to take a little bit more.
Yeah.
I ended up quitting and just, kind of diving in, to the deep end and, just going all in. So.
Damn. Okay. So how did so kind of like, dude, like I know a lot of times people are afraid to pull the trigger, and like I said, dude, no risk, no reward. Brandon, how much were you making at your JO to B, bro?
I did okay. I served tables at a pretty decent restaurant, so I probably made like 800 or so, 900 a week in tips. So I did okay.
Damn. Okay, that's just tips.
Yeah.
Nice, bro. So, Brandon, what's like actually make you pull the trigger and say, hey, you know what? I, I'm gonna take this serious. I'm gonna go in full time.
So I had gotten 2 houses under contracts.
Mm,
Nothing too crazy, just a couple contracts, and then they were actually ones that ended up not working out and falling through. But once I got those 2 contracts and it was done, and I was still calling and still getting leads, and just kind of realizing like, hey, like you can do this, like you have what it's like, you can get houses under contract, which is the hard part.
yep.
Once I realized that, I was just like, all right, like instead of calling for 4 hours, imagine what you could do in 8 hours.
Yep.
So I just ended up, I was like, you know what? If you trust in yourself, then trust in yourself and, just quit and roll the dice. So.
Love it, man.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So I just had 2 questions for you, Brandon. What was your biggest takeaway for those that are listening off of this transaction that you had?
On this one that I just closed, you're talking?
Yep, on this deal, what was your biggest takeaway? What's the biggest thing you can leave behind for those that are watching?
Honestly, just consistency and just not being afraid. I like I said, this was one thing that from the second that I got on the phone, it was I had to overcome hurdles, trying to get to the actual seller, trying to bypass, because a lot of time you talk to a kid and I'm not giving out my mom or dad's information, and then it's just cut. So trying to get through there, just being persistent, just really wanting it is what I would really say. Kind of sitting here, just kind of looking at things, just once I kind of make my mind up, like there's not too many times I'm not going to be able to do whatever I'm trying to do if I really put my mind to it. I would just say the consistency and just not being afraid to go out and get it done, because we went, saw the house, I saw it was a mess, looked around, there was mold, this, and I was like, 100K would be fine, but I'd love it for even more or for even less. And, I rolled the dice, wasn't afraid to come in at the price I, came in at, and got accepted and just went from there.
Right
Brandon, were you nervous when you have to present that offer, dude? Because
I literally called my mom right where I did. I called my mom and told her because my voice was chattery. Like it was like I was giving like a school presentation.
yeah,
And my voice was just chattery. And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, like, I was like, I think I'll be able to get it done. I was like, but I am nervous. I was like, there's potential 30, 40, $50,000 spread on this house. This is life changing. I was like, I'm nervous to come in, but I want to do it. And she was like, well, I mean, if you want to come in at that, just come in and, go from there. And I remember I called and my voice was a little chattery and I made the offer and got accepted. They had to, think about it for like an hour or so, called me back, got accepted, and instantly drew the contract up.
dude, I love it, man. And the reason I asked that is because if you're not embarrassed of your offer, obviously your offer is not too low. See, for those of you, if you're like, hey, I'm afraid to make this offer because they asked, let's just say 150,000, but for it to work, I need to come in, I don't know, man, let's just say 100,000, and you're afraid to make the offer, dude. Because you're afraid to make the offer, you're contemplating. Brandon comes in, make the offer because he overcome the fear. He locks it up, and he makes that 37K, baby.
Right. That's right.
And so for my other question to that was, so for those who are like listening to this and they're thinking about doing, let's say the academy, which you're obviously a part of, that Khang and I run, what would you say to those that are on the fence thinking about doing this coaching?
What is there to be on the fence about? Like The deal that I just closed yesterday was for 24K. Another huge spread. Like I said, it took 2 months to get done. We had to pay for the septic, do this, do that, the well. But, it was another 24K that I literally just picked the check up yesterday evening. So, I mean, in 2 months' time, I've 10 times my investment. So, it's kind of a no-brainer. Even that with, I mean, those deals were excessively big and, just kind of a bizarre thing. But I mean, even, you invest, you invest in yourself, and then one deal will ultimately pay it off. So I'd say if you're on the fence, there's really nothing to be on the fence about. You just need to pull the trigger and make things happen.
Absolutely.
I love it, man. And Brandon, with that, dude, I just want to add this. The reason I started, now, when I say this, I'm not selling to, sometimes I feel like I work too hard selling you guys on your own dang dreams, dude. Like, you should be the one who's selling yourself on your own dreams. But sometimes I feel like I work too hard trying to sell you on yourself and on your dreams. Now that you say that, Brandon, the reason I pull the trigger and hire my mentor, like, I wouldn't got to where I am if I didn't have a mentor. And I pay over 6 figures for my mentor. But I can share with you guys, maybe some of you guys might have the same, similar kind of situations. But the reason I pull the trigger, bro, to hire my mentor is because, I went at this for 6 months. And Asian, we tend to be cheap, okay? I'll be like, oh, shit, dude, I can watch YouTube. I can figure this shit out. I'm not going to pay somebody to, like, help me with this. So I spend the next 6 months, dude, I watch all the YouTube, listen to all the podcasts. I'm not a reader, so I don't read books. But I was just consuming. I was just taking action. But then knowing what I know today, bro, but I was taking the wrong action. I paid $7,000 to go to a 3-day seminars. All they taught me was to call Craigslist. And yes, and the other day, Brandon, I don't think you were on the meeting, but we had a Zoom meeting with all the students. And some of them say, hey, Khang, I hired this guy or this gal to mentor me, but they're not even in the game. So that's exactly what happened to me. I paid $7,000 to go through to a 3-day seminar. And all they taught us to do was to cold call Craigslist. Never taught us what to say. So he went on there, he did his speech. He's like, hey, break up, right? Everybody go call Craigslist. And everybody take their laptop and their phone. We head over to a corner, and I would just pound the phone, dude. I called freaking everybody in my states. I ran out of people to call. So I came up to the guy and I said, hey, I run out of people. He said, well, Khang, there's 50 states. Call. Dude, I came back and I was just pounding the phone. And I did that, bro, for the next, I don't know, man, 3, 4, 5 months. So sometimes, you might be the action taker, but I'm telling you, taking the wrong action is sometimes it's getting you further away from where you need it to be. So Brandon, for me, dude, I was like, dude, Khang, do you want to see the next 6 months to be like the last, which means you're just trying to figure it out. And I knew, bro, that I was the type of guy that needs that hands-on coaching. Like, I have no problem with working freaking 12, 13 hours a day towards what I want. Right? Because I was, my parent already ingrained that work ethic in me. And I didn't have a problem with taking action. I was just taking the wrong action. And I tell myself, I was like, dude, I don't want to see the next 6 months to be like the last. Just trying to figure it out. Like, I want to start doing deals already. And that's when I cough up, dude, like 25 G's to pay for my mentor, came out, showed me everything I needed. In like 3 days, dude, got my first deal under contract. That's the power of mentorship.
Yeah. No, it's
absolutely
definitely worth it. That's for sure.
It's worth it if you put in the work.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
I was just gonna say it was the same thing for me. I was able to take action, but I'll do it wrong 1,000 times before I figure it out. But once I figure it out, it's game over. Yep. So, having that first deal, closing it, and making a lot of money. Now investing more than half of that with a mentor was a really hard mental shift. But if you can lose that attachment to money and gain the skills that are going to pay you time and time again, it's 100% worth it.
Well, now I don't want to keep on talking about this, right? But I need all of you, dude, to have the right mindset. Because to me, dude, the only thing that separates between a winner and a loser is right here, right? What goes in here, dude? Because your thoughts dictate your action. Right? Whatever you think, dude, it dictates your action. And your action dictates your results. So a lot of you will be like, well, this is expensive. That's expensive. You know what's more expensive? What's more expensive is costing you every single month. So I would like, shit, dude, every single month that I don't figure out how to do this, how to make 37K, you're losing out. So instead of paying somebody so you can start doing deals, but every single month that you don't figure out how to make, let's just say $20,000 a month, and the 6 months go by, how much is that? 6 times 20. Boom, 120K. That's it, right? So a lot of you're not looking about what you're going to gain, but what are you losing? That's what you're losing. Every month that you don't figure this game out, man. Want to say anything, Alex?
No, I just want to say thanks so much, Brandon, for coming on here, sharing your story, sharing the wisdom that you've learned throughout this deal. And where can people find you at?
You can find me, on Instagram, at Brandon Glasgow, Snapchat, Twitter, everything like that.
And Brandon, if you were to give like just 3 tips for the people who are starting out, it seems like you went through a lot of like no deal and then finally close your deal, dude. There's going to be a lot of things that you have learned in that. Mm-hmm. So what are 3 things, 3 tips, 3 advice, whatever it is that you want to give to someone that are starting out trying to close their first 37K?
I would just say, don't be afraid, be consistent, and just make it happen. Honestly, because I remember, I first started calling in January, learning the modules and everything like that. And it was almost like, I had called for life insurance and stuff, I'd sit there for hours, life insurance, but I wasn't used to calling about a property. I wasn't used to talking about a basement, bedrooms, this, that. So it's nerve wracking. And I'd sit there and my voice was chattery. I wasn't confident on the phone. I was, even though I was reading off a script, I was still kind of, afraid. And once I just realized, like, if you want paid, you can't be afraid. Like, you need to sit here. If you already know them, treat them like they're anyone else, and just figure out how you would want to be talked to. What would work on you, and then just translate that into them. So I would just say, don't be afraid, be consistent. It's, you call for, months and months and months to get one deal, but that one deal pays for, those last few months. So just being consistent, just don't be afraid to actually, get out there and make things happen, and just make it happen. Honestly.
I love it, man. So Brandon, you were in sales, you were selling life insurance. So, and the reason I want to touch on this too is because for those of you, dude, if you're in sales, regardless of whatever it is, right? Well, when you transfer over to something that's new that you selling, in this case, right, we're wholesaling house. So there's terminology, right? You have to learn, right? Just like if you were to learn how to sell life insurance, like for me right now, if you take me from this, dude, and then go into, selling life insurance, I bet you, dude, just give me like 60 days or so. I'll be like, hey, Brandon, teach me when I get on the phone with people that I sell life insurance, what do I need to say, right? So there's terminologies and things like that you got to pitch and then to close them. But you have sales experience, dude. Instead of trying to, I was watching Alex Mobi, and he said, hey, if you're trying to sell or you're trying to sell a gym membership at $29 a month, it's going to be, it's going to be extremely hard for you to get to $1 million. So what I'm saying, for some of you, you might be flipping sneakers, flipping Pokemon card, and making $100. Why don't you just transition that skills into freaking flipping contracts and make bigger money? So instead of doing, 10 sneakers, maybe you just do 1 house a month at $20,000 a pop. So you're just taking your skills and transfer it over to something that you can make way, way more. And you guys probably all know it. Real estate's is the industry that makes the most millionaires. Alex?
That's all I got.
Brandon, you want to say anything else, dude? Dude, I think having a podcast is way better instead of me going on. But if we can have people talk back and forth.
I was going to say, yeah, no, I really enjoyed this. I'm glad you guys had me on. Definitely.
No, dude, Brandon, thank you so much, man. I know that you're going to inspire, dude, a ton of people. And this is why I do this, is to let other people know, not just me, not just Alex, not just some other guru that you see online that's wholesaling, just regular guys. Brandon out there wholesaling his first deal. If he can do 37,000, you're going to do 370,000 and then obviously 3 million. Appreciate you, man. Alex, you want to wrap this up?
Yeah, like I said, I just want to say I appreciate it. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You summed it up pretty well. So congratulations.
I appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, Brandon, Alex, you know what time it is, man. Let's go get this.
Moni.
Okay. Later, guys. Brandon, thank you so much, man.
Yep, of course.
Alex, you're awesome, bro.